What's up, you nerds? Mark with Cardivox Academy here, and today we're checking out Signs of the Swarm Amongst the Low and Empty. I'm excited. It's a good day. It's a good day. I have most of the day free, so I'm not feeling rushed with this video, so I'll be able to really sink into it and have a good time. And it's a good, it's a beautiful day outside. It's a beautiful day to bring vocal knowledge to you, the viewers. If you're new to the channel, my name again is Mark. I am a metal vocalist myself in a band called Kardashev. We're on Metal Blade Records. Released an album through them called Liminal Right. Check it out. It's pretty neat. And I'm also a full-time metal vocal coach. I teach people how to make all sorts of sounds, stuff like safely and efficiently for years to come. It's a lot of fun. It's my favorite job I've ever had. So, hey, works out pretty well. Now, I take the reaction format, I pause, I talk, I go back. So these videos are mostly intended to be educational. So if you don't want the song chopped up, you're in the wrong spot. But if you do enjoy the song getting chopped up and hearing some vocal knowledge, you're in the right spot. So without further ado, like, share, and subscribe, all that bull crap, and let's go. Let's just go. Let's stop all the YouTube pre-chatter. Signs of the Swarm, Amongst the Low and Empty. Here we go. Okay, it's actually a good place to pause. Dang, 30 seconds in, and we already got stuff to talk about. So, first of all, this mix thumps. Holy, it actually startled me a little bit at the beginning. It hits hard. I'm trying to save all my F-bombs for after the first 5 minutes of the video, because apparently that's what the algorithm cares about. Anyways, okay, so there are a couple things I'm hearing. We had a brief moment of layering of like highs, mids, and lows, right? But the main thing I want to talk about is the tongue sliding and the jaw position that I'm hearing here. Now, one thing that's really important to understand is that in metal vocals, there are a lot less rules than there tend to be in more disciplined, clean singing schools of thought and practice, right? So when I am showing you these mouth positions and tongue shapes, these are perhaps some of the most common, some of the most effective ways to do these things, but they're not the only way, right? So I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing a lot of, and puffy cheeks as well. And that's kind of like a thing that I've noticed with Signs of the Swarm. He does a lot of the puffy cheek articulation, but we'll talk about that in a second. So the first thing I'm hearing the tongue curled, which is super common in deathcore and death metal. If you are a new budding metal vocalist yourself, and you're looking to find a way to make your scream sound a little less like just vocal distortion and a little bit more metal, curling your tongue up slightly is one of the best things you can do to make that happen. You can kind of hear what this does. This causes the sound waves to bounce off the tongue and stay in the mouth longer, giving you a more full tone, basically, right? But if I'm just here, right there, like that, right? Oh, and I can actually articulate decently well, right? Also, his jaw seems to be pulled back slightly. Now, we want to be careful whenever we're pulling the jaw back, because we can transfer that jaw tension down into our neck. Neck tension could cause laryngeal tension, and that can cause strain. But if your jaw is loose, if you've worked it out, if you've relaxed it as part of your warm-ups, you're fine. You're nothing to worry about. But I'm hearing a lot of this like, my jaw's pulled back. You can hear how much that does. I'm not really changing the distortion that much, just changing the jaw position, right? And then I'm hearing him articulate a lot of his words with his tongue, like sliding back and forth, disconnecting and then reconnecting in a different position in the mouth, which that makes sense. When we articulate, the tongue moves a lot, but it's almost like kind of like a trombone slide. I've talked about that in previous videos, kind of like a trombone slide thing going on. So we have like, you can kind of hear that. And then there's like the occasional onset of a word, onset being the beginning, right? Of like a puffy like cheek. You can add that to your metal vocals to make them sound kind of cool as well. Anyways, I just wanted to point that out because it's a really cool tongue and jaw thing that we're hearing here. And it kind of makes it sound a little bit more flavorful than just somebody, doing low screams, and that's kind of it. At least within the context of deathcore. Deathcore tends to be much more acrobatic vocally. Anyways, let's keep going. Okay, we got to pause there because there are 3 different vocal things that I want to talk about. And then we're going to go back because that was a sick transition. So one thing that Dave is really well known for is how wet some of his highs sound. Now, it's interesting here. I don't know if it's just like a mixing thing or a production thing, but to me, his highs here sound a lot more clacky, a lot more like you can hear like this very rhythmic, like click, 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 click going on. Oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes when we hear that, what's happening is the arytenoids are fluttering around, or the arytenoid cartilages. You can also call them cuneiform cartilages if you're feeling froggy. But essentially, above our vocal cords, to the back of our neck, we have these cartilages that open and close with our vocal cords, right? And we can actually activate those and pull them in and make them make distortion. I don't do it very much on my highs. I have a hard time activating them on my highs, but I use them very heavily on my lows. And you can hear the difference, right? A low vocal, pure false chord, nothing fancy, kind of old school. Hey, hey. Which, to be clear, you can see there are videos where you can see that vocal, which is like an early metal vocal under a laryngoscopy, under scope, and everything. It's not just the false chords, like all the tissues are going crazy. Now, if I close in and I kind of isolate the distortion, we're still getting false chord distortion, but if I kind of isolate it on the arytenoids, you can hear it again. I'm going to do it on my lows because I don't really have that activation on my highs, right? It sounds more like combine that with the false chord, right? Kind of cool. He has that at the beginning of this section with his high vocals. They're kind of tight, not overly tight, not bad tight, but they're kind of tight and they're getting that like clicky sound. That's my guess as to what it's going to be. Sometimes when we hear heavy clicking, it can be the epiglottis. I don't think that's what I'm hearing there. And you want to be kind of careful putting distortion on your epiglottis. You'll feel it, you'll know, because you need that to swallow your food. You don't want it to be swollen. I'm actually going to go back because I forgot the other 2 things I wanted to talk about, but I like his little dance move. See that little dance move? That was sick. Let's go. Yeah, I think it was like right about. Yeah, I think you're right about here. Oh, that's it. That's the clicky high. Found it. Yeah, this mix is filthy. This mix is absolutely just filthy. I think this sounds great. So there are 2 other things I want to talk about. One is just something he used as a background layer. The other one is something that he used as a driving vocal. So he did what we will oftentimes consider a false chord high. Terms are terrible. Terms are so convoluted, but what often gets referred to as a false chord high, right? And he used that for a very narrative moment. And that was actually pretty cool because it gave it like a sinister speaking sound. So if I take like, again, that old school false chord, just that sound, right? If I take that and I think about speaking with a brighter timbre, right? A brighter timbre. So I'm not going high, but instead of going, hey, ho, ha, I'm going, hey, ha, ha. It actually changes the distortion quite a bit. And I don't have to put any work in my neck. It's the shape of the vocal tract that's doing a lot of that work for me. And I do feel the distortion migrate up. So again, I take that, hey, oh, ah, that's in this position. Hey, oh, ah. Now I'm going to take that, hey, oh, ah, hey, oh, ah. Now I have a very high sort of narrative distortion style. And you can use it actually to do cool stuff. Like Carrick Angren uses it all the time. And it sounds great. Alex Tan, Black Tongue, he uses that sometimes too. Although he'll often darken the timbre. You hear that a lot in the beginning of Parting Soliloquy. I watched you from across the lake where the water remains. But we're talking about Signs of the Swarm. Now, and then the background layer thing that he did like a much more concise, much more compressed low, just kind of as a background layer. Sounded very fry forward, very heavy. And if you're new to the channel, sometimes you'll hear me use terms like fry forward or false chord forward vocals. And it's because the dichotomy of all vocals being just false chord or just fry is pretty flawed. It's a pretty flawed mentality. Oftentimes, especially in deathcore, when you're hearing vocals, you're hearing multiple things go on, right? You're hearing multiple things happen, right? Because you can take like a basic false chord, you can make it arytenoidal, you can put that together. There's a hybrid scream right there. What if I add a little bit of tension and I like start to bring a little bit of fry distortion in there? But that's not like a pure fry scream because I'm also utilizing that arytenoidal closure, right? So this is hybrid stuff we're talking about. So when I say, you know, fry forward, I'm saying like it might not be like your pure traditional like Melissa Cross style fry scream, but there's undoubtedly fry distortion in there. I'm not gonna go back to hear that. I want to see if he does a little bit more forward, but it sounds very like hissy and hollow, and it sounds really cool. Let's keep going. He also, right there on that E vowel, he also used a more like, rather than a tall and open mouth shape, tall and open, sort of a rounded and open, right? You can get some really cool sounds that way, just going tall versus round. Sounds really, really neat. Good job. That was sick. Oh. I'm ready. There's some really cool stuff going on here. First of all, this riff is phenomenal. I love this riff. I want to go back because there was this really like, to me, it sounded crazy. This really crazy change where rather than a fill, they did like this weird like off-time drum hit. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but that sounded really cool. Also, I really love the layering going on here. It's interesting. I just talked about this I did the new Left to Suffer featuring Kim Dracula. And I talked about this here too, but I hear a lot of really good, really intentional vocal layering. And vocal layering is something that can either like get way overused and just gratuitous. I've had fun with it before too. If you ever go find the song that I did for Viremia, it was intentionally gratuitous vocal layering going on there. So it can be fun to have that moment every once in a while. But you can also have vocal layering too, where it creates like this illusion that it's one scream, right? And like I said in the Left to Suffer video, if you do production, like if you're an engineer, then you're going to be like, it doesn't sound like one scream. I hear 5 layers, and it's like, well, me too. But it sounds so cohesive and put together, things being stacked so nicely that it has like the impact of one really big solid scream. And you can hear the highs, like those crispy highs, and those mids and those lows, all interacting with each other. And I think that's sometimes what, in my mind, sets a great vocalist. In the context of deathcore, a great vocalist, aside from a good vocalist, is that they don't just think of their screams as like just a bunch of this brutal stuff, right? Which it is, right? But they think of their screams almost like harmonizing or working together. When we do a lot of these screams, there's no like audible pitch, right? You know, what note is this? You could find it. What note is this? It's got a fundamental frequency, but I can't pick it out from that, right? You'd have to like put it in a spectrogram or something and find it, use some tools or something to find it. However, the tones and textures and colors can work with or against each other, right? And they can kind of dominate and clash. Like, you know, having a dish with like 4 different kinds of hot sauce. It's like, okay, well, now it's just hot, right? Which that's fine too sometimes. Anyway, I'm really admiring the production work, and I'm really admiring what he did at the microphone, thinking about his layers and making sure the layers really were bringing out the snarl in each other versus just like, oh, he did a high and a low over top of each other, which, listen, I've done that plenty of times too. That's fine. It's fine, but it's really artful here, and I'm really enjoying it. I feel like something happened back by this shot. This guy who looks kind of like Tyler Shelton to me. Maybe I'm crazy. Let's go. Well, shit. Whoa. All right. That was nuts. There's no way I'm going to be able to go back and, in a concise video, like a 20 to 30 minute video, really peel that apart. So I'm just going to talk about a lot of concepts that I heard in that. And then we're going to go listen to it again because it was awesome, and this is my channel and I do what I want. There was an incredible amount of very well-placed and intentional variation of constriction. Now, when we are talking about metal vocals and singing, we talk about being as relaxed as possible. And that's true to start. To create a lot of these more intense and advanced tones, we do have to learn about strategic constriction in strategic places, right? For example, when I do one of my highest highs that I only really do as flavor every now and again in Kardashev, because Kardashev's not like super brutal. It's much more atmospheric and you know, stars and, you know, shit. So it doesn't have room for like a lot of like the brutal stuff. But like this high vocal that I do, I started here. Right? Over time, I learned how to constrict the back of my mouth, right? The palatopharyngeal folds, right? And also lift my larynx up, right? And it took time for me to be comfortable doing that, to lift my larynx up. 99% of the time, I don't think you should drive with your larynx, but for flavor, this one I do a little bit, right? Right? And to do that, I have to have strategic constriction at the top of my throat and the back of my mouth. And it's squeezed. It is squeezed, no question. And I think the thing I found most impressive about that is how he's doing that across his highs, mids, and lows. Not that specific motion, but he's adding these points of strategic constriction, and he's just like off, on, off, on, off, on. That's hard to do, right? Like flexing a muscle quickly and releasing, quickly and releasing, quickly and releasing. That's hard to do. Like I can do that with my gut because I'm so used to like breath support, but like a calf or a bicep, it's hard to coordinate, right? So that was really, very cool. There was a lot of also spitting the sounds out. It wasn't just like what am I trying to say? I don't know. I'm kind of dazed from that kick. It like shot me in the face like a machine gun. Yes. So there was a lot of spitting. So like, let's say a word is like, I don't know, baked bread. Okay. He doesn't say baked bread. He says baked bread. Right. And that sounded really neat. Sometimes that can get a little overused. He had some kind of harder onsets, which you gotta be a little careful with your attacks. But yeah, just the manipulation of strategic constriction along with like tall and wide mouth shapes, small and tubular mouth shapes. Awesome. And it gets you so many crazy tones. It's interesting. Like when we talk, right, we're utilizing multiple points of articulation, right? Lips, tongue, palate, right? Jaw, right? Jaw's not technically an articulator. But it's like all of it's like his mouth. It's like his mouth is like an expert level, like tech death drummer, because, with one hand they're doing this, and with one hand they're doing that, and with their feet they're doing this other thing, and they got multiple rhythms going on. He's like doing that with his tongue and lips and jaw and soft palate, and it's nuts. I'm not even going to play around with it because I'd have to listen to it like 10 more times. But yeah, we're going to listen to that outro again because that was stupid. That was stupid, and it was dumb, and it was amazing, and it was genius. It obviously wasn't seriously dumb. I'm kidding. It was awesome. Gratuitous? Yes. Tastefully gratuitous? Absolutely. Very, very classy and gratuitous at the same time. All right, here we go. I don't know. I'm putting it to 230. Y'all just go away from me. Go away. 230 is where we're going. Yeah, 230. Be nice. Sick. It's awesome. All right. Left to Suffer. Signs of the Swarm. Bringing the heat. Yeah, that song's amazing. And I don't have anything else to say. I gotta go like plug my bullet wounds from that kick. Jesus Christ. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.